What is happening, good people? We are here to record Macro Dirt Podcast number 41 at 30 Vol with my partner, Puke Breath Dillian. What's up, my man?
What's up, cream pie?
I heard you were worshiping at the porcelain altar this weekend.
Oh my god. That's
Sick?
that's I had a stomach virus. That's probably the worst stomach virus I've ever had. You know, if you puke and poop at the same time, your body takes a screenshot.
That is good. That is really good,
uh,
JD. That is the worst condition to be in, doubled over when your organs are revolting on you. Absolutely. Holy smokes. I'm glad you're feeling well enough to do this, though, because Dirtcast number 42, famous number 42s. I know who comes to mind for me. Who comes to mind for you, JD?
I mean, Mariano and Jackie Robinson. Yep.
Yeah, obviously you envision Jackie sliding into home. You envision Mariano running out of the bullpen with Metallica playing. But we can't forget, I don't want to forget James Worthy, number 42. He was a savage of an LA
Yep.
Laker that was a great teammate for all the stars of that era, a great 80s, 90s Laker, great competition for the Celtics. And he's one of my favorite NBA basketball players back when I loved the NBA.
Did
So
you
we can
know, Mariano, this has been said about Mariano. He was actually the best athlete on the team.
Yeah.
Like they would do like a combine and they would test like skills and stuff. You know who would jump the highest on the team?
Was
Mariano.
Yeah, he was like the fastest in the dash. He was the
Yep.
best, at all. He's the best natural athlete on the team.
Yep.
That doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me. If you I have a lot of memories from Cornell and in playing sports with all the other guys. And for us at school, it was the hockey players that were always clearly the best athletes. So it doesn't shock me that a guy like Mariano was the best athlete on the Yankees team. I mean, look at the other guys that were standing around him. Not many of them were like elite athletes at all. You want to look at Andy
Yeah.
Pettit, not elite athlete. You know what I mean? Things like that. So you don't have to be a baseball player, but it sure helps,
Yep.
I would say. So this morning, JD, we opened up with the VIX at 30, and it has ticked up 4 points in a row. If you ask me, the VIX does not want to give up the 30 handle yet. Like, we do not have enough clarity on tariffs. It doesn't sound like we're anywhere near it. And it feels to me like we're going to be in this high vol regime where every single day is its own session, and every single day depends on where yesterday's close was and where we open up. And then you can kind of have some ideas about today. For example, today stocks opened up bid once again into resistance, and everything kind of curled over. So what are you thinking right now at S&P 5420, sir?
I'm thinking we. So if you look at DeMark, we haven't resolved the countdown yet. We got to a red 11 and a green 9, and we bounced off the green 9. But at some point, whether it's this week, next week, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, we're going to make a lower low and get that red 13. It always happens, you know.
You
So
think
it's just dude, selling the open today was like the biggest berry trade of all time. Just like, open up 54.90, like forget about it,
Yeah, and the thing that's scary about that is that wait, did we open up? I just want to check this because it's important to me. No, we didn't. Okay, I was worried. We opened up in and around last week's highs, and I didn't want it to open up above last week's high and then have the chance for a negative reversal, outside reversal week,
Yep.
because that would have happened. You do not want to give bears the chance to strangle you in bear markets, right? That was like that classic gap open that we had last week that was a little bit higher. And it was like, no, you got to fade stuff like this. We came in the next morning on the dead ball low. Everybody was bearish, and we had the biggest up session in history. So that's my point about every day depending on the prior day at 30 vol. You have to pay close attention to where things close. We got to talk about gold. It's ripping everybody's face off. We traded up to 32.50, a new high for the move. I'm not going to say anymore that no one is talking about it. It's no longer in the no one is talking about category, but it's not in the red hot sentiment category either. So tell me about gold right now.
So I talked to a guy who's probably the biggest coin and metals dealer in the country, And he told me where sentiment was. He's like, look, he's like, business sucks. He's like, people are afraid to chase the move. They're
Yeah.
afraid to chase it. It's not, dude. This is not 2011. This is not a mania where people were just like, you know, shoveling this stuff in. He's like, there's, he says it's quiet. You know.
Dude, think about the difference. Back in 2011, we were handing over gold coins at less than $1,000 an ounce, weren't we? Wasn't it
No,
under a thousand?
it was 1900 in
Oh,
2011.
1900 was the peak
Yep.
there. Okay.
Yep.
Still though, a much different in price, and for a retail guy, that's a big difference in price tag. So it doesn't shock me that people are like, I was happy buying the gold coins for 1,000 and then 1,500 at 3K. It's like I understand that dynamic.
Yep.
Um, What about rates in the dollar, JD? The bond market got the shit scared out of it last week. The dollar tanked under 100 in the dollar index. We seem to be bouncing off of 99. I think that you were saying it's oversold, due for a bounce. Are you still that way?
Yeah, I'm fully on board with that. So I'm out of my whole book, I'm most bullish on bonds. The thing is that people have talked about this sell off in the dollar and sell off in bonds as kind of like capital flight, like out of an emerging market country, like basically what happened to Great Britain when Liz Truss was prime minister for like a week, you know.
Hmm.
And I kind of disagree with that. Like, yes, capital is leaving the U.S. Like, look, the European Union collectively has 1.5 trillion in U.S. debt. Canada has 350 billion in U.S. debt. China has 800 billion. Japan has a trillion. Like, and basically the trade account and the capital account have to balance. So if we're going to be no longer running trade deficits, then we're going to be no longer running trade surpluses, and these countries are going to have to sell down their bonds, and interest rates are going to go up. I'm just saying, in the short term, dude, just looking at the charts, like if you look at a chart of the 30-year, it's the rates, it's just like a priapism. It just like freaking, just went straight up. So I would fade that here. But
Why? But why are you saying that it's not capital flight? You think it's just a natural move based on rates needing to be higher? Why? I mean, we don't have any inflation impulse. Why are you thinking that Treasury should sell off other than capital flight?
um, it's I think it's political more than capital flight, right? Like I think it's retaliation against Trump more than it is, okay, the US is becoming a frontier country. We need to get our money out.
Oh,
You know
that's
what I
fair.
mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's total retaliation. I feel like it's obvious retaliation. I feel like, you know, it was going smoothly in the cupcake tariff sell off to 5,600. And then word got out that it was like, oh no, this is Scott Bessent's master plan. He's getting yields lower so that he can refinance all this debt. It seemed to me by the time that story made it to Beijing in the game of telephone, they
Yeah.
decided, oh yeah, try that with some US Treasuries incoming. See how you get rates lower if we start dumping all over the Treasury market to just,
Yep.
we don't want to hold as many Treasuries while we're in a tariff war against this idiot. So to me, that's what it feels like. It feels like a direct one-for-one correlation. So that's what I'm going to say it is. Either way, man, what's hairy is that the dollar index has broken range on the downside. I mean, below 100, there is room. So I hear you on the bounce, and I have no view in the dollar. It looks like it could trade back up to the moving averages at around 105 before it's a sale. The sell-off has been so steep.
Well, the thing with the dollar is like, dude, I was chirping about the dollar like on the weak dollar trade when the DXY was at like 110 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thought I was an idiot. And now everybody else is like, "Oh my god, short the dollar." Like 10% later, like
Yeah.
it's become consensus. I think we got like 1 or 2% more downside in the dollar, and that's going to be it. We're going to get a massive bounce.
Man,
So,
so then we're not changing the dollar's range that we've been in for the last 2 years.
yeah.
It's fair to say if it's going to hold down here. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to keep going lower. I'm amazed that it kept going lower while rates turned and spiked. So to me, that was a sign of relative weakness for the dollar. Where are you think yields from here? Do you want to fade the bond market and be long down here, JD, as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it still looks like it could be forming that a second inverted shoulder of it, a head and shoulders pattern. So it's really, the chart's not that scary. It's really not if you want to buy bonds. Um, this week, the stock market, what do you prefer? You think we're just going to have an inside week and kind of back and fill in between?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
What are we doing with gold miners? Have you been able to get in them? Is it worth trying? Is it too late? Up 46% year to date, GDX trading around 50. The thing sat in a range from 35 to 40 for, God knows how long, and all of a sudden exploded. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I have so many gold miners, it's disgusting.
Do
Like,
you?
and I've been accumulating this position for years. Basically, what I used to do was I used to sell puts in GDX. We're talking about like the 15 strike puts, the 18 strike puts, the 19 strike puts.
Mm-hmm.
GDX would go down. I'd get assigned on the puts. I'd buy the stock. I bought so much GDX that way. It like I can't buy anymore. Like it's already irresponsible. So
God bless you. Good. So you're having a good run on this. I mean, I
yeah,
had gold the whole way, but I don't have gold stocks. I have not been a fan of gold stocks. I've seen gold stocks disappoint everybody time after time. It looks a lot different right now, though. I have to use my, sort of ability to change my mind to get into that. I'm obviously late, but that doesn't mean that I can't crush the move from 50 to 70 if that happens, even
yep,
though everybody else has already had them. So that's what I'm looking to do in gold miners, and I just needed I need some kind of a dip to get in. I literally left with on my newsletter. I left a $40 bid in gold miners through this whole ruckus, and it traded 40 and a quarter low one day and 41 low the next day, and was gone. And that's what I wrote. I wrote to my clients. I'm like, look, if I'm telling you to get in this trade at 40, and I'm 40 bid because it's a round number, and it trades 40 and a quarter one day and 41 the next,
just
you
front
don't
run
have an
me.
excuse. I
Yeah,
have an excuse because I'm the newsletter author and I bought them, but you don't have an excuse. So that's kind of the way I look at it. You can't be a dick for a tick kind of thing. And if somebody's trying to guide you towards a trade, don't be so anchored to that price. What else do we need to talk about here in the markets, JD?
uh,
Bloomberg Commodities Index, broadly speaking, and had a pretty great week last week with the dollar down. It was up 2%. All of it was metals and grains, though. The fossil fuel department was all in negative territory. Is there a trade in BCOM right here in the dead center of the range that it's been in for the last 2 years, unable to move?
no, unless you're going to be long on a secular basis and you're secularly bullish on commodities and you're going to hold it for years. You know,
For what? I mean, I can't, I like some of the equity sectors related to natural resources because the charts are at least showing some hope, like XME, GDX, things like that. The Bloomberg Commodities Index, man, inside of 95 bid at 110, I'm going to go back to not caring. It looks pretty clear that there is no commodity story. There's no, oh shit, there's a shortage of this. There's no tight market. I'm going back to flat commodities, but I'm going to stay bullish the resources sector. That was one of the things that you had to notice about last week, right? If you are an equity market bull, you have to notice that last week we had a 20% rally in gold miners. Let me just get this in front of me. We had double-digit percentage rallies in aerospace and defense, cyclical, semiconductors and cybersecurity, technical, and industrial mining, and then gold miners up 20%. So for me, that's a really well-rounded equity market rally. You know what I mean? When you've got tech, you've got cyclicals, you've got natural resources all participating, that's a hard train to turn around. And I think that that's why I want to stick to the idea that the short-term bottom is in and we trade 5,800 first. I don't know. That's it for me on the markets, man. I don't have a lot on top of that right now. Do we miss out on anything, JD?
no, I don't think so.
Let's go right off markets quick. We finally got the third episode of Mobland on Paramount yesterday. This is Guy Ritchie's series about like two English
Mr.
kind of
Madonna.
warring gangster factions. Have you watched this at all?
No, I mean, I know Guy Ritchie. I kind of know his style. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
it is exactly right. He doesn't have another style, right? So
I guess I heard Madonna married him because she thought he was like all gangster and stuff, and then he turned out to be like a total dweeb. Like,
is that right?
yeah,
Wouldn't put me past him wouldn't put it past me. Madonna doesn't seem like the smartest knife in the drawer there at all. But you know, I remember he was desperately trying to get out of that down the road, with her, which isn't shocking either. But which of his movies do you like the best, JD?
I would say Snatch.
Yeah, Snatch is classic.
2002 Snatch.
Yeah, and in my opinion, Brad Pitt stole that movie, and you can't understand a
Oh
word he
my
says.
God. Yeah, it's so the pikey.
Literally I think it's his best acting
Yeah.
performance ever. And it's one of my favorite acting performances in a movie because for him to command that pikey accent in the way that he commanded it, I mean, he
Yeah.
became that character beautifully. And that's why he's one of the best. The Pitster, he's one of my favorites. You're going on a retreat, are you?
Yeah. So we got DirtCon coming up,
Yep. Psyched for that.
which is May 1st and 2nd.
Yes,
And
sir.
then May 10th, I'm going to Mississippi for a week to work on some books.
What are you going to do? What books? What are we writing about?
So I'm finishing up the Awesome Portfolio book, which should take me 2 or 3 days, and then I'm going to start work on my novel. I have a novel planned. So I got an Airbnb in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm
Cool.
just going to sit in there and write for like 14 hours a day. No distractions. It's going to be awesome.
That's great.
So.
Oxford, Mississippi is a beautiful slice of Americana. You're really going to like it there. You can eat off the floor. It's an absolutely beautiful, quiet, small U.S. city. So that'll be a great place to go. You got to find the Wendy's and the fast food spots there so you can eat something in between writing. You know what I mean?
Get a Dave's double.
I think you should be fine with some double cheeseburgers during the day to hold you over. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to read your next effort. If I wanted to leave, if you wanted to leave people off here with something to chew on for the rest of the week, it's a short week. My idea was that
It's a short week.
Yeah, we got Good Friday on Friday, which is markets closed. So we've got a 4-session week here. We've got Easter over the weekend. So it's going to be chop fest. But I think that, my thing is every day is its individual session. And, we're not out of the woods yet in terms of getting out of this high vol environment. So until we are and start catapulting towards levels that are much higher to test, like 5,800, 6K, we get through there and it's a different story. But I still want to sell the rally toward that price. And I think that's where we're going this week, given last week's strength.
I'm actually going to be in Philly. I'm going Thursday to Saturday.
Brutal. What for?
I got a couple meetings, but I'm meeting my literary agent, so
cool.
Gonna have dinner with him.
Outstanding.
Yep. Dude, I love Philly. So when I was at the Coast Guard Academy, my girlfriend, now my wife, was at Penn, and every long weekend I would drive to Philly and like live in her dorm room. But I got to know Philly really well. But that was, Penn is in West Philly, and that's back when West Philly was a shit show. Like it was super dangerous, Mm-hmm. So it's gentrified a lot since then. It's a lot nicer.
Yeah, it is. For me, Philly's a good place to go to see a concert, nice short drive or something like that. I am going to be spending the bulk of this week in Nashville with some fraternity brothers. We have like 30 guys going to stay at the Virgin Hotel, which one of my fraternity brothers owns in a partnership with Richard Branson. So we get taken care of like kings there, and we set up a couple of great events, and it's just an amazing reunion weekend for all the boys. And it really fills my soul, like seeing what people are doing at this age and how they're doing and their kids are doing, and exchanging stories like that is something that's really, really fulfilling for me. So I'm excited for the weekend.
Is anybody retired?
Of the group that's there, one guy is retired from the group that's there, had a long, great Wall Street career and probably tipped out at about 45, 10 years ago. And not sure if he's going to make the trip, but he's the one in the group that is, kicked the snot out of it, fair to say.
Yeah.
But that's going to be awesome either way. We'll be back next week with another great Dirtcast. Everybody, I'd love you guys to continue to like, subscribe, and share it around. JD and I are trying to stay on schedule. We're trying to keep growing the podcast. We pay close attention to what we're doing. We have some great guests coming in the future, and we are going to be doing this until we're toes up. So Like, subscribe, share it around. Let's get the Macro Dirt podcast rolling. And for me, that's it, man. One day at a time at 30 vol. Hasta la vagina, everybody.
Hasta la vagina.